We're rolling, baby. Folks, welcome back to another episode of Live in 5, baby. Sunday night over here. Auzzo and Swish, just the boys rolling it together tonight. Wanted to give you an episode. I'm getting back from Newport Beach. Auzzo reporting live from the chin of Minnesota. So Live in 5, baby. We're going off the box Sunday night. It's a Sunday night special over here, Auzzo. And before we get going here, I just wanted to show you something. And I got this delivered to me by Jakey Schmaltz the other day. As I got home last night late, I got
look at that thing,
fucking pylon award from 2014-15. He found it at the Ralph, Auzzo, and I said, you know what? I need this fella, and he delivered.
Where did he find that thing? It was still in there.
It was still in there. I think it was still in the equipment room. Shout out to Dano. Auzzo, I'm told that they still were using it on the ice. Like, you know, when you bring out the cones, obviously for a practice.
Guys were using that they're dangling the actual pylon award.
And how did that thing not break? Like, over the years, you know, a puck hits it, chips off it. Like, this thing looks like the day we left it. Look at from
Coach
this is over 10
with
years
the
old
because he's pissed off. Yeah, that thing it looks good as new. Oh, like, show that thing again. 4, 6, 4, 2, 6, 2, 22, 20. Stetch was the winner, eh? He had the most.
Stetch had 3. What does Dewey had? Remember when we had Dewey on? We thought he got walked like 6 times. Tomer's got a pair. And it's good to see the boys over here, the captain and Jay Swisher on there, because when I sent that little video into our golf chat group, you said something along the lines of, if you're not even on the board, like, does that even make you a beauty? Like, you know?
Yeah, you got to be on that board, Nick Matson. Come on.
And Simmer, too. Simmer, how did you never make
Was that Simmer's year, too?
Would Simmer have been there? Yeah, he would have been there, right? 1 year older or 2 years? Or no, he there? Yeah, he was there.
He might not have been there for that one.
You're right. 14, 15.
It was Mats and Pans.
It was Mats and Pans, yep. Pans was playing a little bit of forward that year. So, yeah, I guess Simmer wasn't there. Man, that award, though.
Yeah.
There was nothing better because I played with Simmer. When
did you leave? Your sophomore year?
My
Why
junior
can't I remember
year.
This junior year.
Yeah, Simmer would have.
Yeah, so I only played. I only played with you for 1 year.
Because Patton was our captain that year.
Who was your D partner that year?
Tomer. It was Soul. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Simmer wasn't on the team then. But
no, he wasn't. Remember?
That looked for Mats.
Yeah, because that's when we went to the XL Energy Center. Or sorry, it was the Target Center. And we played in that frozen face-off. And Tomer just absolutely pizzaed one against Miami. And we get back to the bench, and he just looks at me. He goes, sorry, bro. You know what I mean? It's just like a grade A pizza, right? I think I went back to D. It was like
dude, I was scratched for the game. I think maybe I was playing. But he tried to go backhand sauce.
Yes, that's what it was.
Through the middle of the rink.
Picked off.
And it got picked off out of the air breakaway. So funny.
Yes, it was like batted down, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was batted down out of the air.
Oh my God, that was so funny because we got back to the bench. I was so mad because we were so shitty at that tournament every year, leading back to the WCHA years at the X, and then into the Target Center for 2 years. We were horrible. We ended up in the third place game both years. Terrible. And we get back to that bench, and we just sit down. I'm like ready to fucking snap, break something, and he just looks at me and just goes, "Sorry, bro." I'm like, yeah, how can I even be mad at this guy right now? Because he's so goddamn chill. But yeah, man, it was this pylon that brings back a lot of good memories, Auzzo.
That's unreal you have that. Shout out Dano for keeping that around. I don't know how I feel about this award being used in practice. It's kind of gives it more character, but that's dangerous. You know, this award could have been destroyed, but thankfully you got it in your hands, Jordan. That thing that's a prized possession.
Absolutely, it is, my friend. And at Live in 5, folks, we are always brought to you by Mini Movers and Butter Golf. Mini Movers, the official moving company of Live in 5, as well as Butter Golf, the official merch and lifestyle brand over here at Live in 5. Gladiator Therapeutics, they worked hand in hand with us as well. So shout out to those boys. And if you need anything, go over to www.gladiatortherapeutics.com. A lot of things in stem cell research in terms of, just rejuvenating your body, as well as, just different sorts of things to kind of repair and protect and prevent against things like.
Do you have to have a subscription to buy one of these things?
I think you have to work through a clinic and or a licensed physician or doctor. So I think you would have to call the neurologic wellness spot
Okay.
in Chicago.
Yep.
I think you'd have to
Yep.
call Dr. George over there. We can put up the link so people can get dialed in that way if they want to learn more about Gladiator Therapeutics. But I guess a bunch of teams are using the different parts, Auzzo, in terms of, different things. And the Penguins are using them now, the attachment pieces, the Jazz. So I think it's starting to trickle down in terms of the major league sports, if you will. And I think, as it's a rather newer company, I think it's, they're starting to make waves a little bit in terms of, getting out there and, supplying different teams with their products.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get these things, because it's kind of like, you remember the Normatex Jordo and even the Theraguns. Those things weren't in stores when we had them on the team. When we were using them.
Yep.
Maybe it could be something like that. Where it's it's used by the teams and then ultimately it finds its way to the shelf.
Yeah, I think it's a good product, and it's devices that are used to emit far infrared light, stimulating cellular processes without heat. And I think it's, really good for reducing inflammation, speeding up healing, and even just kind of enhancing mobility. So I think, I've used the products a little bit in terms of just on my back, just walking around and different things. I do notice when I have them on. I don't know the science behind it. I'm not going to pretend to know it, but I think, given the Neurologic Wellness Institute in Chicago, even just looking them up online and, even talking to a guy like Dr. George over there, if you are looking to, maybe you
might want to trust what they have to say.
Yeah, like if you have a back issue or a knee issue or something, like these attachments, I think can definitely speed up the healing process, and especially for athletes, right? You can't be off the ice or the hardwood for too long. Clearly, some of these major league sports teams are going to it. So go check that out, Auzzo, and get a free quote today from the fellas over there. Auzzo, what's up, fella? It's been a few weeks. We missed you last week with Drew Shore, but
yeah.
I saw you dangling on the sheet on the ODR, and you had a nasty little tuck. What were you playing in there? Was that a little 3-on-3 pond hockey or what?
Yeah, a little 3-on-3 pond hockey outside of Dick's, Ridgedale.
Okay.
And Ridgedale Mall. They got a nice little 3-on-3 rink back there, Jordo. Outdoor, nice boards. Ice sheet. They got a little Zamboni for it. It's a great setup. Like, I love playing on the smaller sheet. Like, didn't get too tired. When you're playing on a full ice, like full size sheet, if you're playing that full length, I mean, you're getting bagged.
Yes.
But great size rink, and played in a 3-on-3 tournament, of course. Our team, I was with Alan Zowie and Max Miller. Shout out Mini Movers boys, Grand Forks boys. We won the tournament. And
no way.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Put on by 10K takes, so I'll shout them out. They had us out. It was a great time. How
many teams were in that division you were playing in?
There was only 6 teams there. So,
okay.
I'll say this: there's no trophy for the champion, so it hasn't gotten quite that big. It was actually the first year they're trying it. Now Dix is going to try to make this a little bit bigger event next year. So it wasn't like crazy competitive for our team, but a championship's a championship, Jordo.
Yeah, you'll take that hardware any day of the week, put that on the shelves of the Mini Movers. Did you get any hardwood for that? Did you get a nice little trophy, or did they just strictly for pride, baby?
Strictly pride. And we got a sick video out of it too.
Yes.
So yeah. I mean, we weren't even wearing, like, some of those bigger terms you win, like that golden shovel on the Nokomis, Jordo. That's a big deal to win that one, because it's like everyone knows what the golden shovel is. They don't have one of those yet, but hopefully next year they can go and start it.
Some of those pond hockey tournaments too are fairly competitive, aren't they? In mini? Like, are guys throwing body out there? Maybe
guys are tilting.
Guys are tilting?
Oh yeah. There's crazy teams. There's this team out of Forest Lake. I'll shout these beauties out. I always go watch if I'm there, I go watch their games, because I've got a couple buddies from Forest Lake on the team, and they've got guys like kind of going there, like, can't wait to get in a little scruff.
Like, they're looking to chuck.
They're looking to chuck a little bit. So if anyone fucks, like, guys are going hard out there, Jordo. So, like, some guys will, like, get pissed off on the other team and, like, kind of come at you hard or, like, slash you. Like, because people just react. It's hockey. And if that happens, these guys are fucking like, ain't no way you're slashing me, buddy. So they go right back at them. And yeah, it gets real competitive out there.
Can they play at all, or are they just looking to throw? Like throw?
No,
first,
they can. They're
later?
pretty good. I mean, they're pretty good. Like they play in the second tier. Like there's a ton of tiers. Just like it depends on your skill level and how intense you're playing out there. The top tier is like I wouldn't even want to play in that. I was playing in the second tier too, because the top tier is like these guys are going so hard. It's crazy.
And these are guys are they like former D1 players, or because there's got to be a little strategy in that pond hockey
there's some
too.
out there, yeah. There's some out there. There's a couple of ex-NHL players playing out there. Like, yeah, it's good hockey. Like guys can play.
And you play in those little nets, right? There's no goalies.
Just little nets, got to slide it in. There's a strategy to it. Like there's a couple older teams out there, Jordo, that they can win games because they got a good strategy going and they know how to put it in that little biscuit.
Yeah, like no offsides, right? Roller hockey rules.
No, yeah. So like they'll have a guy back the whole time. That's where like if you don't have a strategy and you go out there, like I went out there with a bunch of good players. Like I think there was like 6 or 7 D1 players on this team, and we got beat because like we give up breakaways. Like none of us wanted to play D, of course. So like
right,
these guys have guys standing like in every zone, and they're just dialed at hitting that little pocket.
And in terms of like, there's obviously, like we said, there's no offsides. You can't raise the puck, right? No sauce passes, or
I can't remember. I think you might be right because they don't want guys getting hit in the face and stuff.
Yeah,
you might be right. I think like you might be able to throw some sauce, but like the thing is out there on the pond, Jordan, there's no Zamboni, so like the ice is chippy as fuck.
Right, and they just
it's tough to stick handle. It's tough to even skate. You don't want to like take a digger if you're skating backwards. Like it ain't perfect ice out there.
What do? They just shovel it off in between games?
Yeah.
Man, so what are the periods then?
Shit, I can't remember.
Like 6 minutes?
2-minute halves, maybe of like 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So you got to make those games quick because you're playing like 3 or 4 a day, and then you're having a couple beers in between.
And you're going hard too.
Wasn't DK out there this year playing in a division?
Yeah, I think he was. I think he even was on the team that won it.
No way.
Yeah. DK, okay. you can see DK going hard in one of those events.
Oh, for sure. Even with
it's hard for me to, like I'll go like probably 80% Jordo, but to get yourself up to that like 95% like compete level, it's tough.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's like his wheelhouse. Just cherry pick a little bit, sit at one end of the ice. I remember he texted me one of his goals. It was like from the half wall. It was actually pretty sick. He like little thread the needle between 2 skates and under a stick. Those are the kind of goals you almost have to score because when they're not expecting you to shoot it, you just kind of throw a little, roll over the wrist. But yeah, maybe next year Hockey Night in Scottsdale's got to pop up there, and we can do a team with mini movers and throw together a little bit of a juggernaut because that would be pretty fun.
It would be a great time, honestly, to get out there. You recruit the right guys. Like we'd obviously have to get DK on the team, convince
100% we would,
because that guy's made for those events. It's tough for a guy like me, Jordan, who's like, when I'm playing beer league, if I could like close out a guy in the corner and poke the puck out and break the puck out, and that was considered good in beer league, I'd love it, but it's not. So it's tough for me to like play offensive and do that shit.
The thing is as long as you're not playing that team from Forest Lake, it's always tough too when some accountant that's out of shape and he's like 42 years old, like chops you in the hands, or maybe you're not wearing shin pads or your shin pads are a little small and he gets you in a spot of, in and around the tongues or the back of the leg. It's like, all right, like as a guy that's played, that's not even tough, you still feel obligated to do something. What do? Do you stick this guy? Do you punch him? Do you let it go? Do you have them do it to you twice and then you react? It's always tricky, Ozzy, because the last thing you want to do is to get in a fight or a sword fest or a sword fight on the ice when you're playing 3-on-3 or pond hockey. Like that's
and then the tough part is, Jordan, is like if that happens to you, you also don't want to be the guy that just lets it go.
Right.
You're like, okay, this guy did this to me. Like I gotta teach him a little lesson. Just let's not go any further here. It's tough. You have to do that, I feel like.
Now you're just cutting some guy up for 9 zips, giving him the old Harry Potter scar. because he slashed you and he's got to go home to his wife and he just,
Imagine a broken stick. You break some guy's stick. I mean, that's $200 down the drain.
Some dude stopping at urgent care on the way back from the bar in between Bunnies and home because you cut him open. Like that's, that's not perfect either. Is the Minnesota high school state tournament this weekend. And I saw that video of East Grand Forks beating War Road. We got to give the coaches a shout out there to Uncle Rico, I believe Palmo, as well as
Jake Useldinger,
as Dinger, as they call him. That celebration was hilarious. It was like straight out of Hoosiers, man.
Oh,
the excitement for the fellas,
unbelievable,
going and punching their ticket to the XL Energy Center. Also, for the people that listen and don't know a ton about the Minnesota high school tournament, just talk us through it, because I've never been to it either. I always thought it was overrated being a Wisconsin guy. Like, you play junior and you hear about these guys. All they talk about is the tourney. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up about the tourney. But, man, it actually is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, and Jordo, the thing about the tourney, I'll talk about the tourney and then go back to EGF. But, yeah, the thing about the tourney in high school hockey is they don't even have to be that good of teams, which they are really good teams. It's really high-end hockey, I'll admit. Like, it really is. But they don't even have to be good teams. It's about the atmosphere. Like, so many people go, and downtown St. Paul's bumping. And if you're watching it and you're there, it's incredible. And it's even fun to watch on TV. Like, I'll watch it on TV if I'm not at the games, because the whole state is like kind of watching it at the same time. It's just fun like that. But and even sections that win by EGF, and that's huge. They've played War Road, I think, like the last 5 years in the section championship, and the last few years they've been beat. So it was a huge win for them at home, and the rink is just packed. Jordo, it's sick. It's got a lot of people there, which is cool to see. Just in that small of a town, that many people at a hockey game it's pretty sick, and winning in an OT is unbelievable. So making it to the state tournament at the X, it's just unbelievable. Like, being there, let alone being on one of the teams playing, because there shouldn't be this many people watching you play hockey. You're not that good yet, but there is. The AA tournament, Jordo, there's going to be a fucking stacked house for nearly every single game, and these kids aren't that good to play in front of this many people, but it's because it's so much fun for everyone there, It's unbelievable. It's like the Texas, football state tournament, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I texted Rico after that big win EGF had against War Road, the War Road Warriors. Shout out to Izzy Marvin. We're going to win state. We're going to get laid, but not tonight. The old fucking Friday Night Lights quote. It is cool, though, Auzzo, with the state expo, right by the side in the convention center next to the X. They have all the brands come in, all the different hockey gurus and people setting up shop. And they do make it out to be such a bigger thing than it actually is. But in the same sense, it is a big thing, because for most of these kids, this is the biggest audience they'll ever play in front of. And to play in front of a sold out XL Energy Center with essentially the whole state watching, it is cool, man. And as a Wisconsin guy, I never played high school hockey because it's just very mid. I was always envy of the Minnesota guys that got to stay home, play for their hometown squad, whether you ended up leaving for junior or not. Those first couple of years, freshman, sophomore, junior years, and you got a chance to play in that state tournament and make the all hockey hair team and just all the broads and around.
Some of these kids, Jordo, some of these kids are going to play in front of more fans in a hockey game than most D1 players ever play in front of in their lives.
Absolutely.
Unless they make the Frozen Four, these people don't have rinks with, these high school kids who most of them will never play college hockey. They're not good enough for they play other sports. They're playing in front of 18,000 people. I mean, it's pretty sick if you're out there.
Did you make it to the state tournament any of your years when you played at EGF?
I played 1 year high school, Jordo, and we got beat in the semifinal of sections.
No way.
It was from a pizza from me up the middle. Triple overtime. Sauce won't try to clear the zone, and it gets batted down by what's his name again? Stayskull. War Road. They beat us in triple overtime. End the season. Tucker Pullman's senior season, I ended it by a pizza up the middle, sophomore year.
Dagger. Who'd you say that loss was to?
World.
Warroad. Okay, and then did they end up making it out of that?
No,
section?
they lost to Thief River. Thief River made it. Yeah.
Shout out to Walty McIntyre, Zane
Zano.
McIntyre, TRF. Yeah, man, that was always one thing. Like I said, just seeing the all hockey hair team, seeing those kids skate from the goal line to the blue line, y'all get introduced, and then the student sections, especially the big schools, Edina, Wayzata, are massive.
Yeah,
it's a whole section or a whole side of the arena at the X, man. And those sellies, they get more outrageous every year. And
they're absurd. I actually don't like that part, Jodo, and
yeah,
that's another story. But they're getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
You don't need to skate to the student section every fucking goal.
So when does that start? Does that start on Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday. That's why I took the weekend off, Jordo.
Yep.
I want to ask you about your weekend soon too, but I took the weekend off. I've been, I got laundry going right here. I'm just getting shit dialed in because Rico's coming to town on Tuesday night and they're playing Wednesday. You bet your ass I'm going to that game at 8 p.m.
Yeah, and Tuesday night, that coach, if we know anything about him, he's not scared to have a few before. So you clear your Tuesday off, maybe clear your Wednesday off if they win. So it's Wednesday game, Thursday game, and then is it off Friday?
No. So Wednesday, single A, double A Thursday.
Okay.
And then Friday, semifinals, state championship Saturday.
And then so both the state championships will be Saturday then for both double A and single A. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, man, that's gonna be sick. Those bars too in St. Paul over there are unbelievable.
They'll get buzzing for sure.
What's the one Irish bar right there?
McGovern's,
and then you got Tom Reed's, which is a staple.
Tom Reed's, Truck Park,
Herbie's,
Wild Bill's, Yeah,
that's a good pocket over there, and everyone's gonna be pissed up too. And speaking of pissed up, Auzzo, I was in the chin of Newport Beach this past week, and we were supposed to play a pickleball game against the Missing Curfew boys. But the big fella, Shane O'Brien, who we've had on the show, friend of the show, went down with the flu. So we didn't end up playing any pickleball. It was a rather successful trip. Got on the board, played some tennis, as well as just probably filmed 3 or 4 different episodes between Hockey Night in Scottsdale as well as Missing Curfew. And then we went to the Ducks game, sat on the glass for literally a period. That was sweet. Went and watched Bess for literally 20 minutes. Saw the kitty tech.
How do you look out there in the first 20?
Well, they were up 2-0 in the first, and they were buzzing. And then the Ducks apparently came back and won 5-2. But yeah, he looked solid. It was funny though, because I knew he saw me on the glass, and then he texted me after the game. He's like, "Why didn't you tell me you were going to be sitting on the glass when you were at the game?" Because I told him I was coming to the game, but I didn't want to distract him. You know what I mean? I'm not a cheerleader. To sit down that low though, I don't know if you've ever done it, like literally sit on the glass like that, especially behind the net. You realize how fast the National League is again. You're like, oh my God, because you sit up top, and obviously it's
looks easy. Looks easy from up top.
You can pick apart any game, how you want it, any play. It's easy. You're just basically you're a video coach at that point. But to sit that close, it reminded me just about like being on the bench. You're like, wow, these guys, like they're humming out there.
They're unbelievable.
It was crazy. So yeah, we did that one night, and then the coolest thing I think we did though was when the pickleball got canceled, we actually went over to Big Canyon where Uppy and Obes belong at their country club, and we played tennis. It was me and Gooch versus Uppy, and he brought in a ringer. This guy's name was Chris Dunk, and he was a professional tennis player for 8 years, I believe. A doubles player and a singles player. Now the guy is 60. The guy is 67 years old, Auzzo, and he is still just so nasty at the net. Like, when you don't really have to move in doubles because, he didn't, because he knows where the ball's going, and we're not any good. But his net play was just insane. Like before he would hit it, he'd be like, "Heads up, Jordan, here it comes," and he just hit like a little spinner cutter down the line. I'm like, all right, like this is just. He's got a bad knee, and he's still just dicing us up, like not even really trying. Yeah, it's got to
be fun playing with a guy like that.
It was so sick. And the one time he was serving like these like just absolute spin cutters like to the back triangle of the box, and you could barely return them. But on the last point, we lost 6-4 the first set, then it was 6-4 again, or 5-4, and he's like, "You ready for this, Jordan?" And he actually kind of torqued one, and he torqued one right down the tee. Like I had no chance. Like it hit like on the other side because you obviously got to serve cross court.
Yeah.
But he hit like the other side of the tee, just painted the line. He's like, game. I'm like, holy fuck. So that was a lot of fun. That was cool.
That's sick.
And the guy that teaches at Big Canyon was a former number 1 in doubles, actually won Wimbledon like back in the day. So these guys these guys both played against McEnroe and his brother in terms of, doubles. They played against Connors. They played against Bjorn Borg. It was pretty cool just to chop it up with these guys and, just ask them different questions because I'm getting into tennis now that I don't play hockey, and just to hear them talk about the game. And even Dunkey, I'm like, Dunkey, like, how do you like hit that shot? He's like, well, because I know where the ball is going. I'm like, well, I just can't hit that shot. He goes, well, yeah, you're not any good. I'm like, well, yeah, that's true. He's like, well, he's like, I don't mean it in a rude way. He's like, you haven't played. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. That'd be like some, asshole stepping on for
like muscle memory.
Yeah, it'd just be like some asshole stepping on a men's league game. That's just a normal 9-to-5 Joe that just picked up hockey and we're out there just skating circles around him. But it's just the net play in doubles. Doubles is such a different game to begin with. I just couldn't believe like the shots he was hitting because there would be a couple of times where it was like lobbed up and, you could just go for the spike and he would go up, fake the spike, and at the last second, let it drop and then just touch it with his backhand just to be a show
that's
off.
Silky.
Oh,
yes,
I was like, fuck
that's
you.
Unreal.
Fuck you.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could have played with this guy. Should have been calling him Gramps.
Oh, and that's the thing. It's like, he was nasty at tennis. I can't imagine his pickleball game when he really doesn't have to move because, he's got a banged up knee.
No chance.
No chance. That's what those guys were saying at the country club. They're just like, there's no way.
It's muscle memory at that point for those guys. They've waved that racket so many times. They know where the ball's going, especially if it's coming in at a certain speed. And you just got no chance. It's like, it's almost like Jordo, when we're 67, we're still in good shape. Some guy wants to play hockey with us. He's pretty athletic, but he just started playing. Like he's only played probably like 100 times in his life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, those guys that just get on the ice and they're just like, all right. Like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It would be like playing with like Biebs or something.
Yeah.
Just a guy that doesn't know how to play. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was nasty, man. It was
sick.
It was really cool. He played a 2-set banger.
What was his name again? Say his name.
Chris Dunk.
Chris Dunk. Sick name too.
Yeah, I think he made the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, the French, and the U.S. Open in doubles at least once each. And that's what he was saying. He was like, yeah, we could beat the number 1 doubles team, but we could also lose to the Hunters. Like he said, just the consistency and the margins within tennis is so small. And to be that consistent, like you just have to be ungodly almost.
Especially with doubles too. Probably even more so with doubles.
Yeah. And he played singles, but I don't think he ever really made it past like a 120th highest rank, which, still not bad for
those guys are freaks.
That's such a hard game. Oh my God.
Oh, those guys at the top are freaks.
Yeah. What a freak. What a loser. Auzzo, I wanted to move into just a little bit of college hockey. UND went into the chin of Kalamazoo this past weekend. Our Sioux boys grinding right now to stay alive, be in the fight come playoff time. And, they took on a very good Western Michigan team this past weekend at Lawson. Lost on Friday, but responded well. Got a W in Kalamazoo in overtime. Jake Libanovich, great goal.
Mm-hmm. Sick.
Selly,
big time.
A little outrageous. Liv, if you're watching, listen.
But he is number 4, Jordo. Anyone else does it, but he's number 4. And at Western, I don't know if you remember this, but number 4 always gets shredded the whole game.
Yeah, why is that?
You suck. 4's a bitch.
Okay.
4's a bitch.
Yeah.
4's a bitch. Like the whole game. And the story is like, I guess there's someone back in the day on Michigan or some team that was number 4, and he was just a prick out there. And Western, it's just now tradition to call out the number 4 on the opposing team.
So then I would say I don't mind it because he was silencing the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, so I misspoke then, and now I love the Selly.
He actually was. Yeah, the crowd was at him the whole night. and he
That's
scored.
right, because they would always go at Tomer back in the day.
Yeah. And Tomer would get all riled up. Like, it actually works. Like, it kind of rattles the guy, number 4, because the crowd is just chanting your number the entire game. You're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, and I think that Western Michigan team is legit. And I got a text actually from Nicky Schmaltz, who was watching the game on Friday, I believe. And he was just saying this Alexander Bump is an absolute player. Like, he said, he's pretty nasty. And coming from Nicky, if a guy says he's good, he must be decent, because he doesn't give anyone compliments. But he's like, wow, this Bump kid. I don't know if he's NHL good. I think he's probably going to get a look, obviously, in Philly with Keith Jones, his ties to Western Michigan. He is an alum, and I think he's very high on him. But this Bump kid out of Prior Lake, Minnesota, having another successful sophomore campaign, had a great freshman year, Auzzo. He's a big body, and it seems like, you know what? He's a hell of a player. Like, some people, I tweeted about him. I tweeted about Key Bump, and they were like, he might be the best forward in the NCHC.
Yeah, he's certainly up there. I mean, yeah, I watched this kid, Jordo, when he played at Prior Lake, and he was unbelievable. I wanted him. He was originally committed to Vermont, Jordo, and then he decommitted because the coach got fired or something. And for some reason, he went to Western. I don't know why he didn't go to the Gophers. I don't know why North Dakota didn't get him, because he was an unbelievable high school. Like, you could tell he was going to be this good in college.
Yeah, and it sounded like someone said he entered the draft early. I don't know if that was on X. I don't know if that's even legal to do. I hadn't heard of that, but I don't think that's true. But it said like he had like an unbelievable state tourney, like you were talking about there, and then it seemed like he was just overlooked in a sense of. Now listen,
Maybe.
Western Michigan is a good program, but it ain't the Gophers in your backyard. It ain't UND. It ain't Michigan. It ain't BU.
Here's the only thing I can think of, Jordo. Maybe he doesn't have the greatest grades.
Yeah. You go into Kalamazoo.
Something along those lines, because Western, they're kind of a team that takes in kind of anyone, really good players who might have some sort of character flaw in the coaches and in some other team's eye or whatever.
Yeah, you don't even
these
have
guys
to
get to school and they're nasty.
You don't even need a GD to get into Western. I don't even think you have to take any sort of standardized test. I think you just say, I want to be a Bronco, and they let you in.
Yeah.
Like those guys were always, no disrespect to the Western guys, but they did recruit a lot of meat sticks to go there. Like,
when you're going to him, Nolan Laporte, that guy is a psycho.
Mike McKee.
Oh.
I mean, we used to call them Western Tish because they're a bunch of beauties. Like
they were beauties.
Like you're going into Western.
Sheldon Dries.
Yeah, Shelly Dries, great player again, but not exactly a valedictorian, I don't think.
But I mean, look at him now.
So that is funny. Like, and it wasn't like character flaws, but it was always just like
they
always had that like that bad boy persona to them, though, or maybe just the guys that just skated by in college or in high school. They didn't really, and it's not like
something like that. It didn't look like they had that much care for the game or something like that. And then they get to college and they're like just nasty, and it's because the other coaches are like, it's a recruiting flaw. I think you should take those guys.
100%. It's almost like they were like the bad boys or the outliers or.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but really good players. Nolan Laporte was a psycho in the USHL. I mean, what a player. How does he not get recruited by more college teams? I don't know.
And even Sheldon Dries, was a hell of a player too. Like, he's still playing NHL games. He's still an unbelievable American League player. He's played 100-odd NHL games. And but the stench around the zoo was always like, oh, yeah, he's a little greasy. Oh, maybe he's just dumb as a box of rocks. Maybe he's just.
They were tough when we played him, though. They were scary a little bit.
They were.
He was playing left wing. He'd
God.
Come down on you in forecheck. Like, he's not stopping if you pass the puck.
No, he sees numbers, he speeds up. Yeah. So that was a good win though for UND on Saturday. Get that split. They're kind of grinding right now, Auzzo. They're like what, 16 in the pairwise, 17 somewhere in there.
17, 18, I think. Yeah, they're gonna have to win out. Omaha's gonna be tough. They haven't been really good at they haven't really, I don't think, swept like a good college hockey. I mean, they swept Duluth and St. Cloud, but unfortunately, Duluth and St. Cloud are having down years. And yeah, I mean, it's tough right now, but they got to win out, which is going to, and then they got to probably win the Frozen Face-Off, Jordo. So it's going to be a tough route to get to the, NCAA tournament, but how electric would it be? I actually liked their game this weekend. I watched both games, Jordo, and it would be electric if they found a way to even that championship game in the NCHC playoff.
So they got Omaha this weekend, and that closes out the NCHC regular season play, correct? And they're going to the playoffs. Man, I was looking even before this weekend started, and I was texting DC a little bit over at Denver. He's not going to come on the pod, but I'm begging him to come on again. Maybe, hey, fella, like we did kind of get you a national championship last year. You came on before the Frozen Four. So he's like, yeah. I haven't done an interview since the World Juniors, but I'm like, all right, well, if you're going to do one, you got to come on live in 5. So I was talking to him, though. He's like, before the weekend, I think UND, the Sioux, we were 4, and Denver was maybe 5, or it was, flipped like that. Like that would be a tough matchup to start. Like
you're done.
Oh my God. You got the Piles
especially if
home.
you're in Denver, it's over.
God. Yeah, it is over.
You ain't beating them twice there.
That altitude, especially if you had to play a 3-3 on that Sunday, that would be brutal. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who they it kind of shapes up to be. Man, it's crazy because the college hockey season can feel like a decent length if you make the Frozen Four because you get to play into April. But also, if you're looking at this UND team, like you're like, geez, like boys, we might only have 2 weekends left here. Like we got fighting for our lives, and it's like for those seniors and especially a guy like you that played 4 years,
have 4 games left.
Like that's fucking wild to think about. Like Jakey Schmaltz could have 4 games left in his college hockey career. Like that's a spooky feeling.
Scary feeling.
Man, that's
thinking about that when you're on the team. And everyone's thinking it though. That's the thing. Yeah. It's like I did like UND's game this weekend, like I said, but everyone's playing like that now.
Yeah.
No one wants their season to end, so it gets a little tougher. But hopefully they get some guys back in Perron. And who else didn't make the trip? But
Jammer was playing. I don't know who. Sasha got the OT winner, right?
Get Perron, but Sasha Boiver is nasty.
Well, he got not the OT winner. He scored to tie it up, right?
Yeah,
late?
Yeah, yep. To tie it up. That kid is unbelievable. He's like he doesn't play like Brock Besser, but he scores like Best did. Like he scores from everywhere. Every time he gets a chance, he's tucking.
Yeah, it's crazy to watch him play because I haven't watched a ton of UND games this year, maybe 6 to 8, maybe a little bit more than that. But it even seems like he's got another level physically to him. If he wants to assert himself that way, I think if he stays for another year,
still really young too.
Still young. I think he could definitely be even.
He'll definitely stay for another year, I would say.
Yeah, but don't you think he's got that power? He's got that power forward in him, though. Like he could be a real force.
Oh yeah, he has potential to be a really good, effective NHL player. For sure.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll see. Auzzo, is Omaha? They're okay.
They're pretty good. Yeah, I mean I'm pretty sure they're ahead of UND in the standings right now in the NCHC. So that ain't going to be easy for them, but they do need 2 wins.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it's do or die, fella. And I just wanted to send it over to the National League for just a couple different things. Obviously, the 4 nations, the hangover there a little bit, guys coming back into the play. You're walking into a lot of different scenarios with trades and getting to the deadline here on Friday. But I just wanted to touch on one thing, and I know it's your favorite player, and he is just tucking on a level we have never seen before. Alexander Ovechkin got another one last night. This guy, sooner than later, I think he's 11 goals away, is going to break. And I think Auzzo, Ovi is a type where he sees blood, and I think once he gets like 3 away from breaking the record, I just see him like having a hat trick. Like he's going to do it in style, man. It's just that's always been Ovi, and that's 100% what's going to happen.
Yeah, and he's coming to Minnesota, I think March 27th. It's in like 11 games or 12 games or something. So he's got to have a goal per game. But if he does, I'm going. I got tickets because I'm going to go watch Ovi in this year. It's going to be legendary.
Yeah.
The guy is legendary. And it sucks too, Jordan, because I think Sidney Crosby's tying Wayne Gretzky's record this year if he finishes with a point per game for 20 seasons having a point per game. And no one's talking about it because Ovi's this close to the goal record, which is insane.
Yeah, and it's wild to think. There's no way that he's going to break it, get an empty netter. I don't think that's Ovi's style. People are always talking about like how many empty netters he had. Like, listen, Gretz has just as many empty netters, or if not close. So Ovi's he's going to have a vintage Ovi one-timer in the slot, coming down the left side, snapping one bar down. But yeah, it's kind of funny. Sid got his 1,000th assist the other night, or maybe it was 1,055 or something. It was 10th all time in assist, and no one's talking about that because we're all focused on the grade 8 and chasing this storied record. It's going to be wild when he actually does it. And do you think Ovi's a guy that when he does break it, Auzzo, does he just shut it down, or is he like, you know what, I want to keep building on this? Because, dude, he's having a hell of a season. I mean, he's already got
he keeps playing
30-odd tucks.
Yeah, he's still pretty good.
Yeah,
he loves hockey. It's clear. You have to love hockey to be playing this long, and he still gets fired up. That's the best part about Ovi. You watch him, Jordan. Every goal he scores, he's so pumped. Like, the guy loves scoring so goddamn much.
It's so funny too. I love those pictures when Washington posts them of Ovi getting on the bird with his Subway footlong, the bag of Doritos, and a Coke. Like, that is old time hockey. Fuck the grass-fed shit, free range chicken, all this bullshit, low carb, paleo diet. I run on Subway cold cuts, and I'm the greatest goal scorer of all time. And yeah, I still hammer vodka because that's what I've done my whole career. That guy is such a horse. It's just so
an
sick to watch.
insane human being.
And it's like Washington, the moves they made over the deadline last year and even into the free agency this past summer, they've all hit, man. Chikrin's worked out.
Chikrin's unreal.
Sandin, who they added a year and a half ago at the deadline, worked out. Strome 3 years ago has worked out. Pierre-Luc Dubois on his 9th different team.
How does that work out?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ostrus kid who just comes up.
Who saw that?
All of a sudden, this kid's nasty. It's like the moves they made, that Matt Roy from LA. He was a serviceable defenseman, top 4 guy. He's been really good for them too. It's just all the moves. And then they talk about their goalie too, Logan Thompson. They peel him off of Vegas. He's been arguably, those two guys, him and Chucky Sideburns, arguably might win the Jennings Trophy as the best in the league in terms of save percentage. Just like all the moves they've made there have worked out. And Spencer Carbattery, as I call him, as our coach, seems to know what buttons to push. It's pretty crazy in Washington. And I don't know if it's just the stars aligning a little bit for Ovi to break it, but man, ride the heater and wherever it takes them. A lot of good times here in Washington, and it's been fun to watch.
Oh, it's so good to watch. Like, who could have seen this coming too? I pay attention to the Capitals every year, and you could have never seen this coming because they were on a downturn. You lose Oshie. Oshie's such a big part of the Caps if you're a Caps fan, and you're just scared for the future. You have one down year, I think it was, and then all of a sudden things work out. Like, how many teams does that happen to? How many times does this happen for a team where like their trades worked out?
Yeah, I know. And it's like all the right buttons were pushed. And it's one thing with Washington too. They love acquiring former first round picks because it's, they've seen the talent in there and just, the way that their general manager operates, and they love acquiring former first round picks. You got Chikrin there, Sandin, Strome, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Sonny Milano, another name that you could throw in there. So he's done a really good job of acquiring talent, and fuck, man, it's paying off. They're probably going to win the President's Trophy. But also the deadline is this week, and there has been moves already. Gustav Nyquist has been sent back to Minnesota for a second-round pick from Nashville. There's been a lot of different moves in terms of Seth Jones going to Florida, as well as different, things heating up throughout the week, and that'll continue into Friday. But one name I want to touch on lastly on the National Hockey League is our boy Brock Besser. Now, Bess, is he safe? Because I'm hearing might be getting dealt. And, I think if he can't come to a number in terms of an extension, there in Vancouver. I don't know what Best is exactly looking for, but Brock Besser is a name that a lot of playoff teams and a lot of teams looking to make a push and contend for a cup would really like to have, because he played fucking unbelievable last year, Auzzo, if you remember in the playoffs. And that's another guy that could be add to not only your primary scoring, but your secondary scoring. So that's one name I'm like, fuck, I don't know if Best wants to leave, but I could see him getting dished.
I mean, yeah, it'd be just, I'm not saying I want him to get traded because I'm not sure he wants that. You got to pick up your life and move somewhere. But it would be fun to see him on a different team just once.
Yeah.
But
I know
maybe that's selfishly thinking of me, but yeah, I agree. Like, let's get him on a team that might, push to win the cup. Because I don't think Vancouver's there right now.
I was like, fella, come back to Minnesota. And he's like, Minnie might be on my no trade list. Yes or no? I'm like, oh, okay. I will report that. But yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if Minnie would be an option. I don't know if there's other teams.
But Minnie, can Minnie afford him with Nyquist on the team now?
Yeah, and I don't know, like, again, I don't know if they're on his no trade list. He wouldn't say yes or no on that thing, so who knows on that front. But how about a team like Edmonton? Like, is Edmonton a spot that they could use some scoring, man? And if Evander Kane is going to stay on LTIR, or if they're going to potentially move him, I don't know. Is that a spot that they're probably looking more so for defensive depth, especially on the right side? Probably looking for a bigger body back there. Just with what they have in their personnel, they have Bouchard, Klingberg, as well as Stetch, and then Emerson. I would like to see Stetch probably on that third pair, just being a bulldog. Klingberg, I don't know if that's a guy you want slotted in your top four. So they're probably looking for a little bit of defensive depth in Edmonton and Stanley Bowman. But fuck, Bess, maybe in Edmonton. Now, I don't know if you'd sign long term there, but just for a cup run, I don't know how that would work, Auzzo, because Bess, I think, is up for a deal this summer, so he could be used as a rental, obviously.
For sure.
But that's an intriguing name, especially just watching Vancouver and how uninspired that Elias Pettersson is playing. If you're Jimmy Rutherford and Patty Alvin, you're probably thinking, man, I don't know if we're a legit contender here with just our makeup of our team,
Yeah. It's a different team this year, Jordan. It feels like it. So it doesn't feel like they're going to go on a cup run right now.
No, and there's other teams out there that Colorado making weird moves, acquiring Jimmy Vesey, as well as picking up Ryan Lindgren. I did like that pickup, and they're able to dump some things the other way. And who knows? They still, I think, need a second line center, Middlestat. We've touched on him numerous times. A solid player, but for a second line center on a Stanley Cup team, I think you need more. Landeskog probably not going to be back this year, if at all. And the West is beefing up. You got teams like Vegas, obviously Edmonton. They're looking to probably add something. So we'll see on that front, Auzzo. But lastly, I just want to touch on that Seth Jones deal. Seth Jones, I think, going to a market like Florida. Now, Billy Zito had Seth Jones when he was an assistant general manager in Columbus. So he knows the player. He knows the character. I just think knowing Jonesy as a player and a little bit as a dude, like in Chicago, you're just going to rot. You're coming to the rink every day. It's Groundhog's Day. You got nothing
100%.
really around you. You go to a team like Florida and you got some big swingers around you. You get that energy. You get that vitamin D back in you. I really do think that he's going to come back to that Columbus form. And I just think that he's probably going to be their number one horse on that right side. Like Seth Jones, if he can get back to that level of Columbus, no doubt in my mind, he's a way better defenseman than Aaron Ekblad. And that's no disrespect to Ekblad. I just think that's how good Jones is.
I've seen Jonesy. I've watched. He was a 94. He was a year above me when I was in Ann Arbor. And this guy, I have the utmost faith in him to bring back his game. He's in a tough situation in Chicago. This guy is a superstar. He's unbelievable. He logs a lot of minutes. I think this is a great play by Florida. That's just my first take. We'll see how that pans out, but yeah, I think he's an incredible player, and I think it's going to work out.
Yeah, I really like the move. And lastly, on the National Hockey League front, Auzzo, before we get to the nail gun of the week, Skip Bayless So, Auzzo, I don't know if you saw what Skip Bayless said in the media. He came out with this statement on hockey and watching hockey. I assume after the Four Nations Cup and the championship game played a couple weeks ago, but he basically came out and threw shade at the game of hockey, saying it's way too fast. It's 100 miles an hour. It's basically a game of continuous mistakes, and you can't follow the play, and it's too hard just to not only watch, but too hard to play. And he said and made the comparison of it would be like if basketball played with a greased ball. They're just, the ball flying everywhere, just, out of guys' hands. It's like,
Yeah.
Drip Bayless, we know what you're doing. You're just certainly just going for clicks. But if you attend a hockey game, I could see how it could get lost on TV as a first-time viewer. But I've never talked to anyone, Auzzo, that's gone to a game live for the first time, not even really knowing the rules and being like, dude, that was fucking awesome, walking away from the game. Yeah, I don't totally understand all the rules, but the speed, the force, the fights, the hitting, the shots, being a hard game is actually a good thing, dude, because no one else in the fucking world can do it. Like basketball, me and you can go out there, not saying we're going to be good, but we can hit a 3-point shot. 99% of the population, if they put skates on, let alone put a stick and a puck and people flying around, they can't even skate. Hockey is a hard game, yes, but that's what makes it beautiful.
That's the really cool part about the game of hockey, is it how hard it is. But then that's also its downfall, Jordan. That's why you don't have probably as many views and fans, because you can kick around a ball and you can shoot a basketball and you can relate to those guys doing that, but you can't relate to it. But it is sick. You're right. Like, no one's ever gone to an NHL rink and went to a game and left like, that was boring. Even if it's a fucking Wednesday sleeper, 55 dog days. If you've never been to an NHL game before and you go to one, it's fucking nasty.
Yeah.
These guys are ridiculous.
And I was reminded when I sat on the glass just a few days ago at the Ducks game. I was like, holy shit.
It's crazy down there how fast it is. It's nuts. Like, it's almost like, holy fuck, they're moving it. This is tough.
I had my knee on the glass, Auzzo, and someone hit Trouba right in front of me, and my knee is still sore. I feel like I got a stinger because I was like, oh my God, I forgot how hard these guys hit each other. Yeah. Like, my knee is still in one. I was like, holy fuck. I feel like I played again. But yeah, Drip Bayless, shut the hell up. So, Auzzo, I just wanted to touch on that just briefly. What do you have for a nail gun of the week, my friend?
Oh, fuck. I didn't even think of one. Give me a second.
Yeah, I can go.
Go.
My nail gun of the week, and I wanted to tip my cap, is to the captain of the St. Louis Blues, Braden Shen, the pride of Saskatchewan, the pride of Saskatoon Sask. Why, you ask? Played in his 1,000th game over the weekend, Auzzo. He was honored with a silver stick, as you do when you do play 1,000 games. A warrior, one of my favorite players, one of my favorite dudes in hockey, plays the right way, has a granite chin, can score, 20-odd goal scorer, 8, 9, 10 years in the league. He's done it. He gets to 1,000 games, doing it the right way, from LA to Philly to St. Louis, Stanley Cup champion. Just one of those throwback players, Auzzo, and one of the best dudes in hockey. Yeah. I just wanted to shine some light on Schenner because, still fighting, still a leader.
Just a nail gun.
Yeah,
just player. Great for the game of hockey. Just one of those veterans, just still doing it. It ain't easy. This guy's crazy.
And the fact that him and his brother now do share that in common, the first pair of brothers to reach 1,000 games, I thought it was unbelievable. Sons of a firefighter, blue-collar family. I just love Schenner. I love his game, and a throwback player, and just ultimately a warrior. So what a chin on him. If he does end up getting moved at the deadline, he's had a hell of a run in St. Louis. Sounds like Toronto is inquiring on him. He'd maybe be linked up again.
Really?
Maybe potentially be linked up with Craig Berube. And Craig Berube was quoted saying in the media about 2 or 3 days ago, I love that player. I love that guy. So interesting to see if maybe Doug Armstrong does the right thing and slides him over to Toronto, because that's a guy they could definitely use as like their third line center. I mean, Schenner, like, the guy's making $6.5 million, like, and he's still throwing his body on the line every fucking game. Like, 3 weeks ago, or whatever, before the break, he fought JT Miller right off the draw, center ice in St. Louis, and just pumped him. Like, he's fucking nails, man. That's just a definition of a nail gun.
Oh yeah, that guy is incredible. And to do it as long as he's doing it and still be chucking them too, like,
yes,
it's just so nails. It's just, but it's about as nails as you can get. And Jordo, I did see. Speaking of nails, I saw Barstool use the word nails. So like, I don't know how long ago we started saying nails.
Yeah, but, you actually brought it to my attention. It was probably 7 years ago at least.
So long ago.
You were playing in Colorado.
Because it comes from NailGun.
Yeah, but you were playing in Colorado, I remember. So that however long ago that was.
Yeah.
It was a while, fella.
It was a while, and now everyone's using it. It's good to it's a good term that you always try to get those started. You've started like so many of them.
Yeah, that's a hell of a term. Did you find a nail gun, fella?
Yeah, I did. I'm actually gonna pick Jace Panzer for EGF. The sophomore out of EGF scored just an unbelievable OT goal to send him to state. And this kid, Jeff Panzer's his dad, ultimate, unbelievable Sioux player. So it was just cool to see him score that goal, and just an unbelievable selling. He did selling into the student section. He was right next to it. And then he went over and hugged the coaches right away. That kid, lucky to be in East Grand Forks. So nail gun of the week, Jace Panzer.
Love that. Shout out to the local boys. Shout out to the EGF Green Wave. Shout out to the Blue Moose while we're at it. And yeah, unbelievable spot. So I love it. Keep it local, baby. Auzzo, no guest this week. We'll get back to a guest the following week in our trade deadline segment of Live in 5, our episode. We'll have a guest next week. But lastly, before we let the people breathe, we let them go, as we always do over here with 93.1 Swish. We're giving the People's Insider Term of the Week. And the People's Insider Term of the Week is piss tank. Now, Auzzo, we all know a buddy or two that likes to have a few drinks. Maybe one too many. They like to go out probably 3-4 times a week. And then when they do drink, they have probably somewhere over a baker's dozen. One of those guys that's calling you around happy hour. One of those guys that's calling you early in the morning. One of those guys that, you know what, he always says to you, you can't drink all day unless you start in the morning. It's your buddy that just is always on the piss early and often. He's just a fucking piss tank. He's always full of beer. He's always full of vodka. He's always full of tequila, and you can't shake him because you know what? You might shake him one day, you might shake him the next day, but you know what? When Friday, Saturday rolls around, he's going to get you and he's going to sting you. You're going to go meet up with him, and you know how it always is to go. And no matter what you say in your own head, Auzzo, I'm just going to have a couple, and then I'm going to go home and I'm going to fold laundry. I'm going to go back to my wife, or I'm going to go for dinner with my family. It never ends up working out. Your car, it stays at the bar. You pick it up the next day. Because when you're around this guy, you're like, Jesus Christ, he just doesn't stop. Shots, drinks, double, piss tank in every sense of the word. So, Auzzo, I would like to maybe you weigh in on this, but we all know those piss tanks out there, man. They just thrive.
They're hilarious.
Is in their
and Jordan, there's piss tanks who are guys who, might not always be like that, but they're on, let's say, a golf trip. And some of these guys are piss tanks at the golf trip. Like there's, and these guys are just, it's an incredible feat. This ain't easy. Like these guys, they don't just fall out of trees. They don't make too many of these guys. And yeah, piss tank. What a term of the week, Chardo. That's unreal.
And we have a buddy, and I'm not going to say his name, on the golf trip, completed a 50 burger. I was telling someone this the other day. 50 drinks in one day, and his hashtag was 20 before 12. And Auzzo, he did complete that mission. He did 50 drinks. He actually ended up going through a little bit of a 6-foot plastic table, a fold-up table at the end of it, but he did complete 50 drinks. So that, my friends, would be what a piss tank is. That is the People's Insider Term of the Week, my friend. Just a goddamn piss tank, fella. Jesus, God bless him. So,
what a story.
Auzzo, we will be back on Thursday for the regular program for the people with a guest. We will break down pre-trade deadline acquisitions, maybe some rumblings, what the phones are saying. So we'll be on it later this week. We just wanted to get an episode out for the people. Auzzo, J Swish, tape to tape as always with you, Captain. We'll see your chin in a few days. And you know what? Low and slow on this Sunday, my friend. We out. Woo! Let's get together.